how quickly someone can jump on you in these high-level games, it is very hard to play around.
Now, of course, we're having a nail-biter here. Game number 5. 5 out of 5. We couldn't ask for more. Is now going to be played on Tomb of the Spider Queen. And we're going to find out which team can then use the... I did that on purpose. A little bit of German in there.
Oh, yeah. No, don't worry.
Calder immediately got triggered there. I saw
No, he got triggered. He got happy. He had the biggest smile I've seen in a year. He was like, someone speaks my language. He got so excited.
I was like, did he really just pull it off? Like, did he go all in on that? So, yeah, I heard that. But
wave clear, wave clear, wave clear.
Yeah. But I just want to come back to something you said. This one mistake or this one play. And you're absolutely correct. That was definitely what won this game. But I also want to bring it back to Sky Temple. The same happened to Sign. And now, so we saw it not only on Ballistics side, because it's easy to say Ballistics made one big mistake or it was one occasional play and they get punished for it. But it's also true for Tempest. They were in the exact same boat. So both of the teams are doing a great job now capitalizing on the opponent's mistakes, and that's what you have to do.
That's the beauty of a best of 5.
Yes.
Mistakes kind of balance each other out, and the better team typically moves forward with the win.
Talking about best of 5s, where do we see ETC here?
ETC, he's come back in quite spectacular fashion for the beginning of the Western Clash. He was actually kind of neglected here, really. You know, it was all about the Garrosh, right? Garrosh here, Garrosh there, Johanna popping off every now and then. But ETC is making so many plays. First Hooligan in the couple of previous games, and now it was Sign. And what looked like Sign was shaking and actually not doing well in material, he made up for it with that ETC big time.
That's the other side of the beauty of a best of 5 series, is you get to watch this internal meta between two teams kind of evolve. And there becomes a world where, even though a Tracer is up right now, I could see an ETC first pick coming out. But again, that's also something that you have to make sure that you watch out in a draft, that you don't let a hero suddenly slip by because you tunnel vision a little bit too heavily on there. But prioritizing in the middle of a series is a very difficult thing to do.
Talking about letting heroes slip by, this is now the second time in this series that Ballistics had first pick and banned Maiev. I mean, that really, they played Maiev once and they lost with her. It really screams at this point that they feel very uncomfortable playing Maiev. And considering what kind of importance she has for most teams, that is starting to become a real problem in drafts.
Yeah, hero pools in general, SCSC, SDE, those are all those melee assassin, ranged assassin flex players. And I would say their hero pool isn't big enough, maybe. Or they're just not brave enough to give it a shot. Maybe they practice it, but maybe they're like, you know what, do we really want to risk it in an important game like that? We don't know. I
mean, if you have to first ban Maiev, whereas everybody else is very eager and wants to pick the hero, it just shows very clearly that you don't feel comfortable playing the hero either as a comp or that you don't have a player that plays it on a good enough level. And this is something that can really be exploited, and we have seen that happen more and more.
Yeah, KSV Black is going to watch that game very carefully, and if they end up facing Ballistics after all, this can basically be exploited, as you said.
And now we have Malfurion and Tracer picked again, so a true and tried combo.
One that has been very successful this tournament, but our first loss to it in this Best of 5 series was that ETC in game number 2 on Infernal Shrines.
Yes, exactly. That's when Tempest started the game with Tracer-Malfurion, and they got demolished.
So it's beatable. Would have to be in a similar fashion to what we saw in Infernal Shrines. Malfurion / Tracer, if they are able to get to a spot where Web Weavers are open up the battleground, their effectiveness ramps up pretty aggressively. So Ballistics has to make sure that they A, either have the wave clear, or B, have a very strong early game to shut this down.
It's also really interesting to see how focused Tempest is on Tracer play and not allowing the opponent to pick Tracer up. So every single time when they were first pick, first ban, they banned out. Either they tried to go for a super early Tracer pick, or they just banned her out right away, and forcing then a Maiev ban on the other side and then going into Genji. So there's two heroes where they were always going back and forth. And the draft patterns and exactly that Maiev first ban on Ballistics allows them now to get rid of Genji and pick Tracer for themselves, talking about exploiting hero pool weaknesses, and that's exactly what we're seeing here.
Yeah, Tempest going in strong here, using tools that had worked for them so well up to this one point where they faced Ballistics, and it all went south here. Ballistics going for that ETC Hooligan, an absolute monster.
Answering also our question, where is ETC going to land in this draft? We have seen ETC 3 times in this series, and every single time he was picked, he won, no matter on which side. And in the one game where we didn't see him picked, he was actually banned by Ballistics.
So Tempest will have to be aware of that and find a way to shut down that ATC. again, I know we keep bringing up the Western Clash, but one of the things whenever we have an ETC, one of the ways that he has dealt with is by a surprising amount of burst. We've had that a lot in our drafts, and that burst isn't coming out for a lot of these rosters, and it's why he's doing so well in this tournament so far. So hopefully Tempest is aware of that and has something up their sleeves.
Now, I'm particularly interested in seeing what Zhonghai is going to play. Tomb of the Spider Queen hasn't really been a map that is known for great Dahaka plays. It's very small. There's not really a lot of bushes where you can brush stalk or two. So are we going to see a Blaze from him? Maybe a Leoric? Waveclear is definitely going to be an important issue to be considered here.
Malthael could also be a possibility now.
Definitely
He's made it through
true.
the ban phase. He's been banned out pretty often in the last couple of matches, but for the first time, we do not have him taken away.
I also want to provide some numbers for you guys when we talk about ETC. Now, before coming into today, we had ETC with 4 games played, and he was a 50% win ratio, 2 wins, 2 losses. Today, he has been played 5 times and is sitting at a 100% win ratio. Every single game in today's series where ETC was played, he was victorious.
Yeah, today you don't want to grab the bull by the horns. He is going to get very angry, and I love these stats, really showing how throughout the course of a tournament, the more high-class, high-profile teams we get to see, the more reliable a certain hero like ETC can actually become.
I'm just staring at Tempest here. I want to know what they're going to do to control this ETC. They knew it was coming, obviously.
Yeah.
And finally,
Nice.
we get a mage!
Against Uther as well. Finally, we have one of the worst nemesis, one of the worst banes of every melee support. The Gul'dan, the Waveclear, the Horrify. Oh.
Okay, so we have to throw a little caveat in. The last time that Tempest picked a mage, it backfired horribly. It was Jaina on Infernal Shrines. Not really a meta pick also from a European perspective. I like Gul'dan in this setup a lot more as well, but I love that they're committing to it now. It's one of the best maps that we have for Gul'dan, and that is a great pick for them here.
And think about how Hooligan's been playing this ETC. He has been in their face consistently to the point where he's around a quarter to half health after a fight gets in. He's able to get out. But now, with a Horrify coming out from that Gul'dan, you disrupt that aggression that comes your way. And if he does not tiptoe correctly, a kill will come out, especially if they can hit Uther as well.
And we have Malthael too. Keep in mind how much Ballistics actually respected Malthael as a pick on the side of Tempest. They banned him out in the last 2 games that we had. They banned him out on Sky Temple, they banned him out on Dragonshire. And the one time that they decide that they're better off getting rid of Garrosh, immediately Tempest jumps to him. And this is, again, a great map for the hero now too. Wow. Johanna to round things off, even more wave clear for them. So
this European draft here coming in from Tempest looks very much like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty similar. Gosh, this wave clear is outstanding for Tempest. I mean, I look at this draft right away, and I like what they have. If they can keep that ETC in check, they're in a good spot going into Game 5.
Right, the Johanna, of course, provides juicy early game pressure. As Trixel said, great wave clear, combine that with a Gul'dan, and you're going to have those lanes in check. And that's exactly what you need to make Tracer shine as well. If she doesn't have to worry about, getting pushed in, defending buildings is probably the least you want to do. You want to be aggressive. You want to be chasing down people. And I think the wave clearing setup that Tempest chose here is really paving the way for that.
She can farm heroes. Doesn't have to farm minions.
Definitely true.
Which is always positive.
I got one question. Do we see any world in which they can go for Judgment here? I mean, Tyrael, Sanctification. But overall, just looking at the wave clear alone, we have just such an amazing setup for Tempest. I really like what they have. Is there any world in where we are saying, okay, Tyrael could go for a Judgment, there's no real cleanse on the side of Tempest, they still have the 7 of Malfurion, that is a little bit of a turn, but you have ETC, Uther, and I think a lot of what Ballistics has to do here to take it is get kills through stun setups.
Yeah.
Is there a world in which they go for it? I mean, I don't see it necessarily, but I'm just trying to throw something in that's a little bit unorthodox.
I think I would lean a little bit more towards a Divine Storm before I would do a Judgment, because you can go for a Dragon's Arrow, and that's your pseudo Judgment, right? And then you have the Sanctification to follow up to make sure the Horrify doesn't connect, and you can kill at target. Yeah. So I think it's doable, but I think it's ill-advised.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really trying to think outside of the box a little bit, because from a wave clear perspective, I think even with Hanzo and Greymane on the side of Ballistics, Tempest has the much safer wave clear, if that makes sense. And they are in a position where I would say they are going to dominate the rotation at least.
We'll see what happens here as we go right away, straight to our lanes, and the clear begins. Tempest clearing their lanes, losing out on that top side a little bit. 1 minion seeped on by, but it's all about the wave clear for them. Gul'dan leading the charge, having Malthael as well now bottom lane against Tyrael. Johanna and crew can focus on their one true love, which is killing minions.
Yeah, and Hooligan is already starting to get a bit of a taste of what it means like to be aggressive against this Gul'dan setup that we see here. As long as Gul'dan is not completely caught and the main focus of the aggression itself, if he can turn it around and get the corruption onto the ground, ETC is just going to help him stack faster, so Hooligan needs to be super careful with this.
That he does. Let's play a little bit more reserved, poking here and there, waiting for that opportunity, maybe going for a little bit more flanks compared to aggressive power slides like we've been seeing from him, just to change up his playstyle a little bit.
I mean, I can't help myself. I love the draft that Tempest has.
Yeah.
Ballistics, if they get the lockdown, if they get a power slide into an Uther stun and a quick kill, then yes, I can see them walk away with an advantage and maybe take it here. But Tempest should by now really know that this is coming. And already the way they position themselves on the map when they rotate, with Hyde far in the back, lockdown with him, both of them trying to stay away from ETC, I feel they have figured that out. They said, okay, we finally got it.
Yeah.
We know what you're trying to do. As long as we stay away from that insta-kill that you are threatening here, we should be fine.
Maximum poke range is the name of the game for them. Try and find a spot to get that corruption that you mentioned. As soon as they get that opening, Tracer comes in for the kill. Loving the draft here from Tempest as they push in the middle lane with this night camp. SDE going to help clear that out pretty quickly as Ballistics answers back with their own camp.
Yeah, so the camps are coming through and lockdown again, getting his stacks together. And the faster he gets the Echoed Corruption completed, the more dangerous it's going to be for Ballistics, and Uther in particular, of course, here, to heal out all of that damage.
It'll be a struggle for him, that's for sure. Post 10, things will be a little bit easier. They can commit to a target. Divine Shield, Sanctification, always wonderful in that regard. HGC can keep up with that powerful aggression that he's wanting to pull off. And speaking of powerful aggression, they are moving forward. They are intending to break down this wall, really taking advantage of that Night Aura.
Yeah, they definitely use it to the maximum extent they can. But I'm also a bit worried what happens if Sign ever gets a good condemn off that Gul'dan can follow up with, because the damage is going to be absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Jongha with the turn in here, so both of the teams are starting to... Oh, nice interrupt by Dami. Both of the teams attempting to get the turn in the first one completed. If you can, of course, get that European-style double turn in and then snowball around it, that would be fantastic for them here. We have now the potential for at least Tempest to complete the turn in, but also Ballistics is finally picking up enough gems so that they could use that.
Tempest keeping up with this turn in really puts them in a spot to also continue to work on that wave clear. 17 gems have been dropped off. Ballistics has enough for their own turn in, have a total of 52 available, but both teams contesting that area pretty darn well. Johanna goes in the top, clears out that wave, and instantly goes back to that web.
It's just awesome that we find ourselves in this 5th game now, with how dominant Ballistics was. In game number 2 and game number 3, Tempest has still managed to tie the series through the 4th game on Dragonshire and fights for another chance to go up against KSV Black in the grand final. And this is what it comes down to. A small map, quick rotations, a lot of team fights that we can expect here, and it's just absolutely awesome that we also have now a mage in play.
And it's awesome, too, because we're starting to see Ballistics and Tempest both be on the highest level of play that they can provide here, meaning they're going to go against KSV Black, who has been one of the strongest the entire tournament. So I'm okay with either of these teams going forward, man. I'm now strapped in for the ride.
Yeah.
And so is Tempest as well. They dropped a few gems, 38 out of 50 they need 12 more just to get this turn going. If they can secure that, that'll be great. They've already opened up the middle of the map.
Exactly, and this tower is going to fall any second, so that is not only going to provide experience, but also open up the mid lane, so that a turn-in and the web weavers could do so much damage and maybe even take down the fort itself. Dami is being really careful here. Hooligan so far has not found that opening that he's hoping for, and Dami is absolutely willing to commit to the bomb. And there again, you can see Gul'dan and the impact he has. Hooligan is now in a spot where he's realizing, I don't have as much leeway here as I did in the previous games.
We're so good against that ETC. Continue poke between both of our teams. Looks like we're having a full 5-on-5 in the middle of the map. A corruption lands though, and Ballistics is starting to feel the pain of the mage. Yeah,
Lockdown is really delivering here, and that was a great combo against Greymane. And not only him, first it was ETC that was under pressure, then the same happened to Greymane, and both are starting to learn that they have to be extremely cautious when they go up against Tempest. It's also Johanna, Sign here, just always deterring any kind of aggression towards the backline. But here comes again the attempt to go for it. Good cleanse here as Lockdown is moving away, tries to keep himself alive, but he's completely blocked off the rest of the team. But look at that bomb! He dies finally, but Uther falls first. Tempest with a fantastic turnaround against them. They're going for Jongha, who barely jumps out, but guess what? STE is completely isolated from the rest of the team. You can run, but you can't hide, buddy. And he has 25 gems.
And he's going to lose those gems. There's no way he gets out of this. Right now, he's just trying to buy some time here as Sign will chase him down. The rest of Tempest, realizing that he's trying to buy that time, has went and started to push those other lanes to get those web weavers moving in. But finally, the kill will come out, and Tempest also finds a kill on Hanzo. Tempest opening up the map with web weavers, finding a couple of kills, and jump towards level 10.
And that is the worst case scenario for Ballistics. Not only is it the first, this is the first web weaver wave, and it already provides them level 10. And now it's going to be an easy double turn in for Tempest. They have the heroic abilities. Ballistics is 1.5 levels away from it. The fort at the bot lane has fallen. It couldn't be any better for Tempest. 2 levels ahead. They got the 3 kills, and it all started with Ballistics again looking for aggression and trying a flank against Gul'dan, who sidestepped the original stun, kept himself alive long enough for Tracer to deliver a kill against Uther.
It doesn't stop either. Tempest immediately moves towards a boss. They completely they can do this because of them having that heroic ability over Ballistics, who's only level 9.5. They also have a turn-in available, and Good comes down to slow down that turn-in as well. Ballistics in a horrible spot.
Can they turn in though? And I think they can. They are shielding Tyrael right now, and I don't think they can get close enough. Tyrael should be able to complete that. No, he actually isn't. And now the question, can Tempest themselves, even a blessed shield being thrown out here, if Tempest can get the turn-in now on top of this, this would be a disaster for Ballistics. The turn-in at least would have put them in a spot where they can buy some time for themselves, but it's not happening.
The boss pushing the top lane, and someone has to go back and start defending that. If not, it'll get to the keep wall free, so they send Hanzo right on over. Tempest groups up in the middle lane and threatens the idea of that turn-in happening here. They have enough gems now. Will they be able to get the drop-off? Ballistics hits level 10, though, making it a little bit harder. Tempest has to be a little bit more careful on dropping off said gems.
2 forts have, by the way, fallen already, and that was even before the boss moved through. Now it's a 2-level lead and the red web weaver wave. Ballistics still holds on to a fair amount of gems, so they always have the option of getting back into it. Yes, through the kills earlier, they lost 25 on Greymane alone, but they still have something that... they have the ticket to come back into the game. The question just is, can they at any point use it? Because if Tempest finds a few more kills and takes gems down, then Ballistics is not only in for a very bumpy ride, they might have no chance of coming back into this.
Part of me wonders if Ballistics should just give up this middle fort. I mean, at this point, you need to make sure that your keep walls are not going to be destroyed. Malthael's already empowering that bottom lane by clearing it out, and Tempest is starting to shark around the middle too. This fort should be an easy picking for them. Greymane's been pilled off the top lane to deal with that, but definitely that bottom lane is going to take some damage.
Yeah, and they're going to rotate to the bottom lane. And Tempest is already going to be on the way here with level 13 talents just behind them, and there they are. So a talent advantage and the push at the bot lane. It's going to be super easy for Gul'dan to get even more stacks on his Echoed Corruption. This is a nightmare for Ballistics.
No Greymane here. He's still clearing up the top lane, and Tempest is aware of that. They can see it, so they poke down that wall really easily here, clearing it up pretty darn quickly. The Web Weaver will finally expire, but Tempest, they have the options. The world is their oyster right now as they continue to control.
9-minute corruption completed. This is fantastic for Tempest. 116 is in. If he goes for Runa's Affliction, the damage output that he has against this setup is absolutely crazy. Ballistics, they have their level 10 tools, but they're still 2 levels behind. They are talent behind. This is... I mean, right now Ballistics needs a fight. They need a few kills and they need some momentum.
Calling it. Tempest wins this tournament, man. They have figured out the power of the mage and what it brings to the table.
They go for the European style. They start drafting Gul'dan, and all of a sudden they take it.
I mean, jokes aside, this is a very desperate situation for Ballistics. Like, how do they get across the map here in a safe manner with their first layer of defense completely gone, at a talent disadvantage, and drop off their gems? I don't see them doing it anytime soon.
It's really reminiscent of how dominant Ballistics was in game number 2 and game number 3.
Yeah.
Tempest is doing they're giving them a taste of their own medicine here, controlling the flow of the game, and at this point, controlling both turn-in points just exceptionally well. Ballistics has basically said, guys, we know that we need to wait for a turn, and let's wait for level 13, and then we go for that fight. Tempest is not going to have 16 by the time we have our own talent. Let's play around that. They have 68 gems. As long as they hold on to those, they have at least a chance to get back into it.
They are holding on to the gems, but they also have to hold on to their keeps here. A push coming in from Tempest in the middle lane will be a bit threatening. Hooligan steps up to help his team clear out that area. 13 is being delivered to Ballistics as that lane pushes in, but don't forget about those Giants that are also in the bottom lane. And meanwhile, Tempest are just farming gems. They have a third turn-in soon for them if they're able to grab a few more of those gems.
And that's really where Ballistics' hand is going to be forced. They don't have 13 yet, it's close. through the bot lane. They should get enough experience. But as you said, Tempest is just trying to farm the gem amount they need to complete their own triple. And 3 in a row, that is gonna hurt. The first line of defense has fallen, every single fort is down, and now it's time for the keeps to be addressed, and that's what they're trying to do here. There's the 13, finally, for Ballistics. Can they force a fight in their favor?
I'm worried. Let's get this Night Camp. That'll help them come in the middle lane and maybe try to get a fight that's in their favor, especially around that spell aura. Hooligan will have to start that initiation, and Ballistics believes this is their chance. They step forward, get towards that bottom side of the Web Weavers, and they try to force a turn in.
Yeah, Malf in the battle against Uther here, but the arrow comes out and the mosh pit as well as they go for Malthael down here. And Good is trying to turn it around. They might be able to save him. Just kidding. In comes Hanzo and drops him.
The Divine Shield also helping with Greymane. SDE and crew are able to get a kill. This is where Ballistic turns it around.
But Red Web Weavers are descending. So the turn in on Ballistic side has been denied.
Oh, wow. Completely missed out there. Red Weavers coming in. Tempest now on a spot where the Keeps will start to threaten Ballistics. And they can wait this out, too, a little bit. Play it nice and slow here. Wait for Malthael to get back on the field.
Not only for that, look at the experience count. They can also
16?
wait for the level 16. If they play this a bit slow, they will still get decent value out of it. And as long as they have 16, it's going to be nearly impossible for Ballistics to turn in.
Well, Tyrael goes to the top lane and shows himself, so Tempest just goes in for a fight. They're willing to take this 4-on-4, poking constantly here. Blessed Shield will be used. Doesn't really net a kill, but does make Ballistic back up. And with that bottom lane being in a spot for a push, Malthael's on his way to join his teammates.
Exactly, and this is the fort or the keep that they want to push in the first place, since they already opened the wall earlier. And here's level 16. Malthael, as you said, is nearly there. This is still spelling trouble for Ballistics. Yes, they can defend here, but the poke is just crazy around the corruption, and Ruinous Affliction has now been picked up as well.
Malthael also having Tormented Soul soon with that Horrify, and let's see what happens. Ballistics goes straight for the defense, setting up on the side, waiting for Tyrael to come on in. Tempest takes the opportunity to break open this keep, and it's falling quickly.
Yeah, he definitely does, but the Web Weaver is also falling in. The keep isn't down yet, but here comes the Horrify. They go for ETC, and he is down. The cow is dead. Burgers for breakfast, as we see Jongha trying to prevent the worst, still shocking at the front. He has a Sanctification, but there's no way Tempest is going to let this slip through their fingers.
No, they're waiting for a minion wave, and there it is to tank the damage, and they'll be able to clear out that keep. Catapults for everybody in that bottom lane, and Tempest will pull on back. Zhangwa going for a smart play, though. He has 53 gems. Can he drop them off? Yes, he does. And that's one way to start to get back in the game.
If he doesn't die. Okay, because I was a bit afraid that someone would cut his path of retreat off after he uses those ruins here. The thing is, if you look at the gems, now what is that going to accomplish? It's going to buy them time to get to 16. They shouldn't get value out of the Web Weaver wave. We are going to see Tempest with the talent advantage they have to fend against it, but it at least buys them time to get 16 and then hopefully get value with the second turn. And that's currently the thought process that Ballistics has.
It definitely doesn't get them in a spot where they start breaking the map open, but it gives them a fighting chance here to maybe get that 16 and be in a spot where they can try to go toe-to-toe against Tempest. They are playing slow here, poking where they can, making sure not to get caught out as they try to soak where they can in the middle lane.
Web Weaver is down, and the two at the top and the bot lane are starting to make their way slowly in. But as we said, Ballistics is only waiting for the talent, and they're going to get it here. Tempest is going to look for that fight, and I mean, they have their heroic abilities up again. We've seen the devastating effect that a good Horrify can have in this setup, especially when Uther is hitting, can't use the Divine Shield, and that's what they're looking for again, hiding in the vision here.
Yep, Tempest puts their attention in the top lane with Catapults in the bottom lane. They know that will be cleared up eventually. That Web Weaver won't be able to push too heavily into that fort. Tempest continuing to chase around wherever Ballistics is positioned. Right now, they're in the middle of the map, and they can go for another turn-in after that Web Weaver does expire. They wait for that duration on the nest to be available for the drop-off of gems.
Very strategic game here. 2 kills against 4. Very different from what we've seen so far. Sign should still be fine here. They're going down. Horrify already used. They're going in again. Here comes also no mosh pit yet from ETC. Uther is already dead, but Good can jump in from the side, but Johanna goes down.
Oh,
here comes the mosh pit as well, finally using the cooldown, and the Sanctification is on the ground as we see Gul'dan explode.
Incredible play there by Ballistics. They saw Good in the back lane, wanting to come in for the flank, so they turned around and prevented the flank by getting a kill, and they were able to get 2. Gul'dan and Johanna are down. Malthael looks to trade a little bit here, but gets not too much. Tempest comes in to stop the turn-in. We have SESC dropping a few gems. He gets hit with a pulse bomb and he gets deleted.
That's a 3 versus 4 that they just engaged into, and even Talon's absolutely not afraid since they knew at this point that the cooldowns were already used, all the heroics were down and they were aware of it. So with Tracer, they look at this and they're saying, what can you actually do to stop me? You have a power slide and that's it. So he just jumps in and gets the kill against Hanzo. Fantastic play here by Tempest, identifying that there's nothing really threatening them in the setup, even though they are outnumbered.
But suddenly now this game is quite close. SGE playing with fire here. He steps up to go for a turn-in. He has those 57 gems, but it's all a distraction. So the bottom lane can turn in here. Zhanghua able to drop off his gems, and we are in a situation where Web Weavers are pushing again.
And level 19 for Tempest now, a level away from hitting those Storm Talons. But Ballistics, of course, they're trying to set the push up. Tempest pushing the lanes out to make sure that those Web Weavers are not going to knock on structures fast enough. Gives them a bit more time to clear them here. But they need to be careful because Ballistics, they are in a spot where they are saying, hey, right now, we would really love to fight because this is the only chance that we're going to get for quite some time to fight on even Talons.
And they'll be able to fight too, with Sanification coming online in 5 seconds, Mosh Pit in 20. They can force the issue, and they may have to. Turret gets broken down, gives them a little bit of experience, starts to focus against that Golden. Lockdown, dropping down the Corruption to clear out that first brunted force of the minion waves coming in. The bottom 4 is definitely going to be taken out by the Web Weavers, so Ballistics dancing around Tempest, trying to find a spot to force a fight.
And there's a lot of experience to be had in the structures on Tempest side. So if Ballistics drops these forts, they're going to close that gap quite quickly. And that's going to reduce the time where Tempest will have the talent advantage on 20. So the bottom fort has fallen. The middle still alive though, but up at the top, the Web Weaver is doing some solid work to relieve the top fort of experience. Oh, there we go. There comes a perfect combo and the kill. Down goes Malfurion. Nice mosh pit into the Sanctification. Divine Shield is on Greymane, and he is on a rampage right now.
But the arrow wisp, but Hooligan, he doesn't miss his power slide. They go in, and Good is low. Good's trying to stay alive, but Good is down. Dami kiting where he can, but Dami has to escape. Ballistic keeps all 5 alive, and they have done it. They have gotten 2 kills and taken Tempest back.
That was also, I mean, I have to criticize Tempest here a bit. I mean, that rotation was very obvious since everybody was, of course, moving to the top, and they basically just let ETC go for a free mosh pit. This is also the big difference that we have between Sign on ETC and Hooligan on ETC. That willingness to go in and drop the mosh pit right away. And it delivered the kill against Malfurion before he can use a Twilight Dream. And as Tempest just doesn't get the coordination going in these fights, as Ballistics forces the initiative in the engagements, it's Ballistics who all of a sudden is back to business here.
They are.
Still behind because they lost the bottom keep, but in a much better spot than you would have expected looking at the mid game.
They're actually in a spot here where they could threaten to go for the game-winning moment. Boss pushing in the top lane. They have Web Weavers coming in. The good news for Tempest is they have drafted a substantial amount of wave clear, so they'll focus on clearing this top lane, but meanwhile, the middle and bottom are pushing in from the Web Weavers.
Yeah, so they're going to lose the second fort. That's definitely true. The question is, what else are they going to lose at the top lane? Because the keep is more or less foregone. The question is, can Ballistics push for more? I don't really think so. As long as they keep Lockdown alive here and just defend, it should be fine. But here comes ETC, tries to go for a move. Immediately we have the Horrifier used, and Malfurion goes in for his own ult as well. Magi is low but survives, and he turns around and gets the stun against Malthael. He has to buy back and immediately does so as the boss is on the core.
Can Tempest defend here though? Hooligan comes in for another engage. He has that power slide available. Iron Skin being used. Members getting low. Sanification being popped. Ballistics, they're going for it. Greymane's on the core. They're trying to burn it down. Down to 60. Down to 50. The major mosh pit from Hooligan. Another one he delivers.
And he goes for it. Tempest is going to lose the game here. It is over. Ballistics is taking game number 5 and takes the victory against Tempest with